I'll just be a minute. Morning. At 11, okay. Okay, come to my room for you. It's your phone. No. Yeah. Read your phone. I need your phone, but don't worry, leave it there. No, I need to free up space. So I'll send something to your phone. Like in 2 minutes. Then we'll do some process phone. So don't worry, just I'll what? No, I'll sort some worry. Don't worry, don't worry. Just leave it. Oh, yeah, this you don't have to bring it serious. Um, yeah, sure. Fresh. Wait, I'll send to my email. Send to my email just in case nothing there. Oh, after the session. I'm not able to solve it now.
Not because I suffer fast, not because I pray and fast. No be your show, no be that. I'm watching. Daily Osinachi, Namukwa, Osinachi, one money, Osinachi, Awachi, Daily Osinachi, Mama, Osinachi,
अच्छा not. Hi, Julie. Good morning. Can you hear us?
Hi, morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Oh, good, good. How are things there? Are we ready to start soon or is there a little delay?
Okay. Okay, so we have one panelist in the house. You will see him now. It's coming to sit.
Okay, yeah, I can see. Yeah.
And We also have one panelist online. Our other panelists are left.
Okay, I'm doing my best to hear you. We have a little bit of an echo, I think, on.
Okay, so we can start. I think the panels will start at 9:15 and it's 9:16 now. Can you just let me so I'm sure we are.
Okay, so if we get started then, and we've got 15 minutes per paper, and do we want to do questions and answers after each paper? I think if we do a 7-minute allowance for that, then we're probably going to hit our target to finish at 10:45. Is that okay with everyone?
Please. Is it okay?
Great,
Yeah, it's okay.
real. Okay,
Should we do question and answers immediately after each paper?
brilliant. So it's Adobe to kick off the session, I believe, with the fractured mirror.
I didn't quite get what you said.
I said, it's Adobe, isn't it, to start us off with the fractured mirror?
Oh, okay, yes. Adobe online. Adobe, can you hear us? Adobe is the one presenting the fractured mirror, and I don't know if you can hear us or not because I'm not hearing a voice.
No, are you,
Hi, Adobe, can you hear us?
you're definitely on mute, Adobe. If not, I don't know if you're.
Please unmute yourself, Adobe. Okay, okay.
There we go.
Okay, yeah, she's all right now. Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, welcome. Adobe, good to go?
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Good morning. Okay.
Morning.
The title of my okay, can I share the PowerPoint?
Yes, of
Can I
course.
share the PowerPoint?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just
Yes.
yes. Send the request so I'll allow you.
I've sent a request to share PowerPoint.
Okay, I've allowed.
Okay. Hmm. And I'm presenting with Mrs. Chidimma Blessing Ike. And the title of paper is The Fractured Mirror, Reflections, Continuity and Discontinuity in Children Things Fall Apart. Let's look at it. Some people may ask, why did I use Things Fall Apart? Because some may say it's an old book, but there is something I'm looking at. We are looking at continuity and discontinuity. And what continuity and discontinuity is in terms of culture, the culture of the people, the post-colonial times. And we said, we use the metaphor, the fractured mirror. And this fractured mirror shows a society that was destroyed or that was disrupted under the weight of colonial space. And in this paper, we are using Homi Bhabha's post-colonial theory of hybridity, which stays in third place. And we are presenting this because the main character, the protagonist in Things Fall Apart, Okonkwo, shows that discontinuity. He presents that rigid discontinuity, that a culture must be where it is. He lays emphasis on purity. All his actions and fears lays emphasis on purity. But at the end of the day, he discovered that those things he was trying to protect, he could not protect them. The society must change. The society must revolve. That's the main aim of this paper, is to project that because of the globalization and the technological advancement now, cultures must change. We can't hold firmly, rigidly to old things. We have to have a new order. That is the aim. And there are so many things that were shown in that continuity and discontinuity. But at last, the end of all these things we are saying is change on ability.
So we just hang in and see if she reconnects.
Understand.
Okay, sorry, I have a network issue and I'm moving back to my phone. I was using laptop before, I'm now moving back to my phone. Okay, that's what we're saying, that lessons for today's cultural leaders, that those who laid emphasis on purity of culture, that something must be the way it must be, as it was at the beginning, so shall it be. They have to desist from that because it will cause a fracture in the society. And that's exactly what happened to Okonkwo. He maintained that the outcasts, the Osu, will not be incorporated into the society because they're outcasts. Even women, twins, they rejected that. And along the line, as this was happening, they now have what we call a disconnected society. There was fracture. And that fracture is what we said, mirror, the fractured mirror. That is a society that was broken down because we are so rigid with what we have. And again, that society must not marginalize people, marginalizing women, marginalizing the helpless. Once it is done, there must be a fracture that will break that society. And hybridity, again, is not merely survival. It is something like it projects peace and sustainability. And this particular thing links with the modern Sustainable Development Goal of 16 and 10. Of 16 and 10. It has to deal with the modern, with the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations, that is Goal 10 and Goal 16. Where we in Goal 10, we have reduced inequalities, which emphasize the need for inclusive society, where marginalized groups like ethnic, religious, and gender-based can participate equally. Okonkwo's failure to accept the converts, that is the converts, the people that were converted to Christianity, the Osudi, that is the outcast, his downfall. He never changed it. He never wanted diversity. He never wanted anything that would bring new change. And again, the Sustainable Development Goal of 16 is justice and strong institutions, advocates for just, inclusive, and accountable institutions. And the hybridized system may be flawed, but it is a site for transformation and opening up new pathways for justice and inclusion of everyone. Okonkwo reminds us that reminds the readers that cultural survival is not about purity, but adaptability. History becomes a cautionary tale for any society that seeks to resist change rather than negotiation. And I believe that Achebe in that work tries to affirm that cultural survival lies not in preservation, static preservation, but in adaptive resilience. And through the metaphor of the fractured mirror, Achebe presents a society both broken and enduring, shattered by colonial intrusion, yet refracting new possibilities for identity and continuity through its very fragmentation. Thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. We've got about well, we've got a few more. We've got about 10 minutes for questions here. I mean, it's very difficult, weirdly, for me to be able to see that. I don't know if anybody in the room can direct those.
Any other question? No. Okay, I do. Someone has a question. I do. How will you what? You know, I had to impact of your presentation, but I still say something that resonates when you evaluate or analyze these books. Talking about Okonkwo, how many years ago was that book written? My question is, have you been able to check what changed? What changed in that culture? What changed? What are the new things? Because the theme of this conference is about continuity. That was the past. So what is it in the what is happening in the present, and what's the future? So what changed? We'd like to hear about that in that culture. Okay. We have another person with the question.
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So good morning. My name is Savage. I have read this about and yeah, it's good. It's good. You are talking about embracing. I don't know. You are saying embrace a new order. I think that's what you say. Then I'm wondering, bearing in mind what Papa did, the period I used, and don't you think that hybridity in the sense that what Baba presented is not talking about loss of agency? Are you not seeing that embracing in achievements as case? I think the society itself was on transition. They were
Actually, our next one went off. So we are back now. Oops.
Hi, are we back again? We've still got a few minutes there. If you want to pick up on your question, I know you were midway through there.
Yeah. Can I continue? Yes. All right. So I'm expressing worry in the sense expressed by Francois, and then I think that's where Baba spoke about identity and then the issue of military and all these. If you read them very closely, they are afraid of one thing, that is the loss of Africanity, the loss of agency, the loss of the true sense of African reality. Now, in this manner, I think Okonkwo actually offered us a society that was in transition. You can see that some of them have accepted the new reality. But what I saw was that Okonkwo was rigid. So what he was trying to say was in terms of rigidity, while the culture, the rest embrace it and was trying to see how the integrate. He was rigid, you know. So your paper, if we embrace the new order, as we've done now, you can see so many of us have lost our voices, even the way we speak, we mimic in the way we dress, even in the way we think. And I think this is what this conference essentially is trying to do. Can we also as disposition, can we also advocate for what actually did in this part as embedding the truth and not losing our agency as Africans?
Adobe, have you got time to just wrap those couple of questions up? We've got about 3 or 4 minutes.
I am Adobe, you're muted, so we cannot hear you.
Sorry. Okay. The first question is, I think what should happen in the future, because we are talking about continuity of this. Yes, that's why I started with Okonkwo, or I started with Achebe, that there must be continuity, and that continuity must adapt with the current changes, which means a culture can change, can come together, two cultures can come together, and we get something new. For example, we talk about our folklores. There was a paper I wrote, is the African folklore dead? It's a paper I wrote recently. And we were talking about how do we make these things continue? How do we get them continue? Is when we let ourselves get into the hybrid state or the third place. That's when we allow these things to continue in a better stance or in a better form. I think did I get that? So there must be continuity in culture. There must be continuity in culture. But it is us that will help out for that thing to continue. We don't want to be like Okonkwo, that is so rigid. We have to be like Obierika, that let loose. Yes. And accepted the traditionalism and accepted the Westerners and blend them together. He wasn't on any side, but he came at a particular point at the center. That is the third place we are talking of. That is the liminal state.
I think one of the questions as well, the first question said, what measures have there been, sort of that gap between, when Achebe wrote his novel and the present, if I remember correctly? And have you looked at whether those changes have taken place in any way? We've got about 2 minutes if you want to address that one.
Okay, yes. So not about folklore, but with TikTok, it is coming on. People are assuming storytelling from past. They are assuming all those festivals we do in the past that we no longer do today, and they're modifying it and bringing it up. And the youth, they key into it. they key into it. So there is change. It is coming. The people are coming. People are doing something to bring back those things and modify them, remove the ones and modify them with the new ones, and we have a blend.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Julie. I'm sorry for interrupting, but Mr. Gabriel, okay, just go. Okay, Mr. Gabriel said he has another panel that could you please allow him to present now for Camilo Musa?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We could move on. Yep.
Okay.
So thank you, Julie. So just share my.
Pardon, I didn't get you well, please. I have network problem. Pardon, please, I didn't get you well.
Sorry, I was speaking with Julie. She just okay.
Okay.
So you can go on.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I don't know if those online can hear me clearly.
Yeah, there's a lyrics. Can you hear us? Hello, Julie. Can you hear us? Please confirm you can hear us.
Muted.
You are not muted.
Hello, Julie, can you hear us?
Okay, I think it's.
I can hear you wonderfully. When you're ready. Gabrielle, can you hear me?
You're better now.
Is it just me, or have we lost him?
No.
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us?
Do we want? Hi.
Okay.
Do we want to wait? Do we
Can
want
you
to
hear
wait
us
for
now?
a connect, or do we want Camilu to start his presentation?
Can you hear us now? Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, let's go on now.
All right, thank you so much for the confession. I'm going to be making a presentation. Originally, at the time when I submitted the title of this paper, it was mutual culpability and ambivalent identity in our Nigerians and but since then, I have had to take a second look at the paper and I've come with a new title, which is still to a very large extent resonating the original title that we have at the conference. So next slide, please. So looking at, please go back, let me just fix the title. So we have the title there, Conflicts, Culpability, and Conciliation. Reframing the, let's see. I'll just see that now. Let's see. So reframing the Fulani X-Men farmers crisis in Nigeria's Benji. Please, next slide. So as a way of introduction and background to this study,
Post-colonial Nigeria has a disturbing history of intergenerational conflicts. Most of the conflicts are uniquely motivated by factors that may be religious, ethnocentric, political, theological, and colonial, or cultural. So some of them, we have them listed there. We've had the coup, the civil war that happened between 1967 to 1970. We had the June 12 crisis, the democratic election that was annulled. We've been having separatist movement. We have IPOD, we have Mossad, then we have Oduduwa agitators. We currently have banditry, kidnapping, we've had NSAS, and the list is endless. And of course, the more contemporary one, the Fulani Herders crisis. Next slide. Also, for literature review, existing studies. Literature reviews. So, for literature review, existing studies on the persisting X-Men farmers conflicts, have identified transhuman culture, food-style climate conditions, religious intolerance, ethnicity, irredentism, government inaction, class consciousness, water scarcity, poor access to very valuable land resources, and collective memory as enabling forces in the conflicts. However, all of these factors are struggle for access to and control of water, land, and other agricultural resources and inaction from the government are often fronted as pivotal causes. Next slide, please. So, statement of the problem. So, judging from these studies, significantly examine the key enablers of the persisting conflicts. However, there is a significant gap in the existing literature regarding the psychological and moral dimensions of the Fulani Herders, X-Men farmers conflicts. And that is the absence of mutual culpability or the shared recognition of wrongdoing by all parties involved in the conflicts. So that is one very key gap that we find in the existing literature. So this lack of introspective accountability, of course, may be contributing to intractability of the crisis. Hence, this particular study will be looking at Ahmed Yorima's Endu. Want to see how he engages with the theme of mutual culpability through his characterization, dramatic techniques, and materials in the speech next slide. So the aim, of course, we have it already stated. So to achieve the aim, we want to examine the truths of mutual culpability and that are the heart of the conflicts and apply Ahmed Yorima's possibility to Endu. Next slide. So to achieve this, I'm going to be using Joanne Galton's principles of conflict resolution with particular focus on the three approaches to peace, namely peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peace building. What I have termed the key words in this research. Okay. So now he says, I can see the maybe we should do seconds. So I want to quickly close what Galton says. He said when a war breaks out between two groups, a status quo has been interrupted. Okay, so when a war breaks out between two groups that have a lot to do, have a lot to do in common, have a lot to share, then there is a status quo that has been broken. The next slide, please. So in Hindu, therefore, Yerima projects the prophylactic nature and inadequacy of peacekeeping in restoring and ensuring lasting peace in Nigeria's troubled Middle Belt. So what he does, of the three P words, he positions peacemaking and peace building as better conflict resolution alternatives. So what peacemaking does is that, for instance, it helps to get rid of the source of tension, the underlying conflicts. And then to sustain this peace after effective peacemaking, peace building comes in to dismantle all conflict-causing structures like unjust laws, inequality, and discrimination, then replacing them with equity, philanthropies, symbiosis, broad scope, large domain, etc. Please, next slide. So that's a summary of the theory that talks about peace strategies, peacekeeping, peacemaking, peace building. So peacekeeping is what it does is that it temporarily fixes the problem and does not address the structural violence. But peacemaking and peace building, they are deeper and they help to enshrine deeper, lasting strategies of reconciliation. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's the research methodology. It's basically a literary study. Next slide. Okay, so let's look at some of the government and institutional failures that we've seen about. The rural policy is one peacemaking initiative that the government of Muhammad Buhari had to come up with after so much protest. But unfortunately, the rural policy failed due to lack of community engagement and transparency. Then, of course, there had also been responses which had been mainly using these peacekeeping strategies. And then, of course, we had state government come up with some of this. And we had the Motepu in the southwest and in Bago formation, peace structures in the southeast. But so according to Amnesty International report of 2018, security forces were often positioned close to the attacks, which lasted hours and sometimes days, yet were slow to act. In some cases, security forces had prior warning of an imminent threat, but did nothing to stop or prevent the killings, looting, or burning of homes. Of course, we know the recent one that happened in Benue State, and one also recent in parts of Plateau State. So most times, intelligence will be there, but these people don't just act. And when they act, they don't really try to effectively tackle the issue. And of course, peacekeeping itself only just temporarily fixes it, even if it's well handled and doesn't really go to the heart of the problem. Then, of course, we also have the compromised officials and leadership inaction, which also compound the issue. Next slide, please. So, military context and Yerima's role. So, Yerima is known for dramatizing Nigerian socio-political tensions. So, other dramatists like Malaysia, Yoka, Oshofiso, Weme, Abdullahi, Denja Abdullahi also engage on Nigeria's political tensions. So, but Yerima uses his theater to challenge historical narratives of conflict and promote reconciliation. We've had this in some of his works. He has written Parry and Heart of Stone, which tackle Boko Haram terrorism. He has also written Little Drugs and Background, which focus on the Niger Delta conflict, and now Edu, which is what we're studying now, which explores the herdsmen crisis. So in the Edu, we have these characters. Wabiti, who is a symbol of cultural duality and healing. We have Gaga, who embodies the streets. And interestingly, of all these characters, about 4 of them here are Fulani characters. Wabiti is a Fulani woman, but who the Rima uses as a symbol of cultural healing. Then, of course, Gaga is Fulani, who embodies deceived virgins and religious rigidity. In the typology of the vicious Fulani herdsman who would go and, of course, wreak havoc in some of these vulnerable villages. Then we also had Hamajan, who was the husband of Wabiti, an ideal Fulani, honorable, peace-loving. And what Verima uses here to do and symbol in this play is to suggest that it's not all Fulani people that are dishonorable. some are actually honorary. Then we have Gambo, who represents the security agents or agencies. He's a member of the Hispa police, but he's compromised. And then, of course, he represents the compromised and effective and government paramilitary officials who would see crisis and really not do so much to address the situation. Then we have Kingi, the daughter of Wabiti, who is a symbol of collective love and Yarima's vision of peace in the conflict communities. So Yarima explores, with all this, he explores some multiple identities that we find within the Fulani society. Okay, so we have, here we see the inadequacy of peacekeeping as a strategy for conflict for resolving the Fulani herdsmen crisis. Now, Gambo, a secret agent of Hispa, provides this detail on his uncovered conversation with Ghana. He says, "You knew what Amaga told the Hispa police of the cattle rustling plan."
Time.
Okay, so he said when you took over 800 cattle and you caught, you had made up your mind who it was. So as characteristics of the peacekeeping conflict strategy, the Hispa police are temporarily unable to stop that from rustling the cattle and doing reprisal in Hamadan. So they only stopped him, but eventually he goes ahead to kill Hamadan, who is the husband of Wabiti. Why? Because there was no peacemaking and peace building strategy. Next slide, please. So we also have irony. Dramatic irony resonates deeply in this play. We find Wabiti eventually marrying this man called Gaga, not knowing that, of course, he had the intention of vengeance because on the day they wanted to rustle cattle, it was the husband of Wabiti that prevented him from doing this. So he said, oh Wabiti, my stupid naive crew, the drums of doom beat, and yet to dream of forswearing happiness. He did something when the crocodiles saw us and celebrates his long deadly fans. So he does not forgive. He does not forgive, and is not interested in enshrining peace in the community. Please, next slide. So then, of course, we have the ethno-religious tolerance resonating here. Ruth is a sister to Jock. Jock and the Kingi were set to marry. Jock is from the Middle Belt. Of course, this play is set in the Middle Belt of Nigeria, where the crisis is in hotbed. So Jock is set to marry Rook, but unfortunately, when Rook, the sister to Jock, hears about it, she's not delighted. He says, I'm here. If no one thought of it fair to invite me, I'm here to see the faces of the animals to keep my husband and now want to marry their daughter. But of course, Yarima moderates this the voice, that's the vengeance voice, through the voice of Bafo, who had this woman, please, we are happy. Don't spoil it for us. The Fulani are one with us. We cannot abuse them as we're doing now. So through Bafo, Yarima teaches ethnocentric tolerance and the sanctity of the human person over ethno-religious identities. Of course, we see mutual cover. And I want to just take note of what happens here. Chakwe is one of the children of Wabiti. Of course, he has learned the cattle herding from his father. And there are these stereotypes. The communities, the people, the natives of the Middle Belt have stereotypes about the Fulani. They see them as very primitive, crude persons who just carry sick and herding cattle. So they know about the stereotypes. Now, when mutual collaborative comes in, is that they have these things in their head, both parties. Now, listen, look at what Chapter says. You see, the people in this country think we are smelling useless cattle people walking with sticks who drink milk and eat meat. There's no plan for us.
Apologies, there's 3 minutes left for questions.
I didn't get that, Julie.
I said there's only 3 minutes now.
Okay, 3 minutes.
We're quite overrun here. It's very good, but a little overrun.
Yeah, so he said they are so hostile. They need to even give us a ranch to care for our cattle, plus set us for a route for us. Now, here they won't even give us a ranch. Meaning that they are even ready for other solutions to the problem, but these people wouldn't even give them a chance. All right. Now, ordinarily, when this kind of narrative comes up, people tell this kind of narrative to fuel the sentiments of the crisis. But look at what Wabiti, the mother of Chafe, tells her after she raises these sentiments. They said the mother appeals to collective memory and also helping him remember what the people of the community have also done, the good things that they have done. So you're not only talking about the bad things, also remember the good things. And that is coming from that sense of knowing that they are as much beauty as these people are. They're building those stereotypes that further destroy their identity. He says, she thought, our father's mother, the first Muslim, brought the Islamic religion here, so they treat us well. Now, she's not oblivious of the cogent points the son is making, but she wouldn't want to dwell on them. Rather, she wants to dwell on those issues that unite them better than the ones that divide them. So she says further, the people here are so kind because of our Arab ancestry, some Fulani, they will turn it into marry people. She said one of them, one of us is a king of the country. Now, at the time when this claim was given, Muhammad Buhari was the president of Nigeria. So that's an allusion to Muhammad Buhari. So what the remark does, which is Wabiti's voice here, the authorial voice here, is to moderate the tension that Chafe the son was raising. In other words, what he's preaching, please go to the next slide. What he's preaching is that we have to find a way of dwelling more on the good things we see in each other. The Fulani provide meal for them, for the community. So if they will also do the same, build on the same sentiment, that will help to resolve the crisis. Now, this is another instance again. That comes when the marriage was being arranged. One of the chiefs in George's community, that he was sent as an emissary to King's place, and then he comes and says this. He said, said the pure people in his discussion, he said, we are Christians, we do not bite, we are pure, we do not eat human flesh, and we do not punish our wives. Now, this is quite ironically. Biron is a representation of communities, those family communities in the Middle Belt. Now, we do not bite, suggests that they do not give reprisals. It suggests that they do not deny the Fulani herdsmen their arable land for grazing their cattle, but which is actually false, because what we see next is that in this same play, there was after an attack that happens in the Biron community that eventually leads to the death of King. The Middle Belt community, of course, staged a reprisal attack in another community called Bachama, which also killed some Fulani people. So you see that accepting culpability too, and of course, the reprisals is not within their rights. It's not a legal responsibility on the individual. So I will round up now. Please go to the conclusion. Yes. So conflict resolution strategies on the Fulani National Command crisis must go beyond peacekeeping, because that is what we see in Motepu. That this is just temporarily, calm everywhere, but does not solve the problem. And there can be decisions as a medium for dialogue and healing. So the Nigerian government, religious institutions, and community leadership must embrace mutual capacity and realizing that we are all guilty in this and find a way of resolving the crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was good. Unfortunately, we need to move to Kamilu now, just with time constraints. But I do know that if anybody's got any questions, is that okay with you, Gabriel?
Yeah.
Kamilu, are you good to go?
Wait, are you saying, are you asking if you have questions in the house? But she was saying that God time and yeah, did you get that?
We've overrun the question times here.
Yes, we have people with questions. Yeah, question. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Dr. Sophie. From University of Ibadan. Yeah, that was quite a good one. I know that there's a lot more you wanted to say and didn't get to say. But it's apparent that the Nigerian Fulani crisis has not really been dealt with. It's something that requires a lot of intervention. So, for instance, you find that when you like that clearly are evaluating now, when you look at it, you find out that there are actually real people involved, and that there are some people. I mean, it's not everybody that enemy. That is sometimes even the people themselves are victims. So when we talk about peace resolution and maybe intervention of the police or whatever, sometimes you want to look at the fact that the reason why those people will be there, they will get information and they will not act. Could be the fact that even if they act at their own risk. Because if they act and they don't get back up, if they act and nobody defends them, if they act and they get injured, they just go home and they become another set of victims. So the fact that there are so many gaps in this whole crisis may also attest to the reason. So what I want you to do is we want to also check from the security perspective too and say, why would we be there? Why would we get all kinds of information that people are trying to check it and still you will not do anything? If I'm scared too, you see them, they'll be watching but so there's something that so that I want to look at and see.
Deborah, are you able to give sufficient answer in sort of very briefly, just because we do need to move on?
Okay, so that's the arguments I made. Peace, that was said, there are four proposing those three strategies: peacekeeping, peacemaking, and peace building. Now, the first one, where I'm going to that one, it just temporarily achieves peace. So when you send police, send soldiers to all these communities, they'll just go there and create the atmosphere of everybody will feel safe. But after some time, the real issues that are causing the problem, the disagreement, will still be there. And most times, this people will eventually be confused. So God then says that after peace, that peacekeeping is fine. But go beyond peacekeeping to now engage in peacemaking. And after peacemaking, then starts peace building. And how to start peace building is by removing those structures of inequalities, those structures of injustice, from those laws that cause the people to constantly be in conflict. So that is it.
So one more.
Thank you. No, honestly, we're really over time here. We're going to have to go to Kamilu.
But okay.
Because I believe. So
It's starting now. I'm taking the last question we have in the room. Hi, Julie, can you hear us?
Hi, I can hear you just yet.
Yes, I said we have one more question in the room. Can we take it, or should we just move on to Camila?
No. We are really, really over on time.
Okay.
But we do have Gabriel's email address on the program, so perhaps it could be worth sort of following up afterwards.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Camila, can you hear us? Have we lost him, do you think? Camila, are you there to be able to present?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent, excellent. Go for it.
Good morning to you all.
Morning.
My name is. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Kamil Musa from Department of International Studies, Suleiman University, Kafin Hausa, Jigawa State, Nigeria. My presentation title is the contributions of minority languages to the socio-economic development of Jigawa State, Nigeria. The paper is divided into 6 segments. That is introduction, minority languages in Jigawa State, historical trajectory of minority languages in Jigawa State, the socio-economic contributions, challenges, and finally conclusion. First of all, before I start presentation, I want to apologize for not having a PowerPoint presentation. So then the paper the way it is. So sorry for that. So introduction. Jigawa State was created on 27 August 1991 during the military administration of General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, and was carved out of the former Kano State, and Dutse is the state capital. Jigawa State consists of 27 local governments and 5 emirates. The emirates are Dutse, Gumel, Hadeja, Kazauri, and Ringim. Hadeja Emirate is the biggest with 8 local government areas. And Jigawa State has a total land area of 24,742 square kilometers. Then Jigawa State, sorry. Sorry, ma, I'm coming. So let me quickly go to the minority languages in Jigawa State. Jigawa State is a home to numerous native languages, including Hausa, Fulfulde, Bade, Gizim, Manga, and Walji, and many others. These languages are indigenous to the state, and their speakers are considered indigenous of Jigawa State. Hausa and Fulfulde are widely spoken across all 5 emirates and 27 local government areas within the state, respectively. Bade, Manga, and Gizim, on the other hand, are predominantly spoken in Bruniwa, Guri, and Krikasama local government areas, as well as some part of Hadeja Emirate of the state. These 3 minority languages are predominantly spoken in Hadeja Emirate, or specifically Northeastern Hadeja Emirate. And also Warji is spoken in Gwaram and Brunukudu local government areas of Jigawa State. Gwaram and Brunukudu are located in southern Jigawa State, bordering Bauchi State. So with exception of Hausa, Fulfulde, Bade, and Wagji, then Manga is belong to Kanuri dialects. In addition, there are other minority tribes, but not native to the state. These are Igbo, Yoruba, and Igala, and so on, residing in all the 5 emirates and 27 local governments in Jigawa State, with concentration in the state capital. So the trajectory of these languages reflects a mix of migration and intermarriage relation tribes. So let me quickly go to the historical trajectory briefly to how these minority languages found themselves in Jigawa State. Bade and Gizim belong to West Chadic branch of the Chadic language family and is spoken by the Bade people. It is divided into, Bade language is divided into 3 main dialects. Western Bade, found eastern region of the present-day Hadejia Emirate in Jigawa State. Then Gashua in present Yobe State, also, and southern particularly in north and northwest and northeastern part of Nigeria, Yobe, Bauchi, and Jigawa State. And in Nigeria, Bade language has a population of 454,000 people in Nigeria. So Bade and Gizim trace their origin to East, that is to the Middle East, particularly Yemen. They were expelled due to their refusal to embrace Islam and migrated westward under their leaders' guidance. They journeyed through Nijimi and Wudi, eventually settled along the Komadugu River. So this means that the origin of Bade people, or the origin of Bade language, is from the East, that is from Middle East, or particularly from Yemen. Yemen is a country in a Middle East or Arab country. Okay, ma. So we also have Manga. Manga is another minority tribe or language spoken in Jigawa State, particularly in Briniwa, in Guri, and also in Krikasama. In fact, in Briniwa, which is now a local government in Jigawa State in Hadejia Emirate, 90% of the population in Briniwa are Bade speaking people. And also, they have large population in Guri and also in Krikasama. Also, Wagji, like I said earlier, is spoken by communities in specific parts of Gwaram and Bunukudu local government areas, particularly in towns and villages such as Pagam, Laya, and Tangulam, etc. Gwaram and Bunukudu are located in the southern part of Jigawa State and falls under both the Dutse Emirate and the Jigawa Central Senatorial District. So let me quickly go to the socio-economic contributions to the development of Jigawa State. As you know that Jigawa, 80% of the population of Jigawa State are farmers. Then, so because of Manga, Bade, and Gizim located in a strategic location, particularly along the Hadejia, Komadugu rivers. So that's why they are more on agriculture and other related activities. And they produce different farm produce like cash crops, granite, sorghum, millet, and maize.
Camilo, are you able to go to your conclusion at all? Sorry.
So yes, ma'am. My conclusion is these minority languages, because of the educational policy of Jigawa State, that education in Jigawa State, particularly girl child education, is free, right from primary school up to university level. And also, disability, persons with disabilities are getting or have access to education in Jigawa State freely without paying a kobo. So this policy gave them the opportunity to have access to Western education. And this access to Western education also gave them the opportunity or excel in terms of political participation and civil service participation. So I think this is just it's not a conclusion, but it's part of social contribution to the Jigawa State, and particularly the manga, Bade and manga languages. The political.
Camilo, are you able to take questions? Because this is quite an important paper. Are you able to stop and take some questions now?
So I think this is the end of my presentation because of time factor.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
So does anybody have a question first? Okay, there is no question in the house. Actually, we don't have a question in the house.
We don't have any questions. Shall we move forward?
No.
I'll go to sharing my screen. Just go to sharing that. It says. Great. You able to see my slides?
Yes, you can.
Excellent. Right. So I will move quite quickly through this. So today I'm asking if psychological hybridity is possible in post-literature. To explore this, I'm looking at T.J. Benson's The Madhouse, a novel that stages madness not simply as a breakdown, but as a metaphor for collective historical trauma. My central framework is Andre Green's The Dead Mother Complex, a theory linking maternal withdrawal to psychic stagnation. However, this model must be approached critically. Within Nigerian literature, where healing and identity are often expressed through spiritual, communal, and ancestral channels, the application of Western psychoanalysis risks becoming a form of colonial imposition, offering insight, yet often misaligned with local epistemologies. I therefore read The Madhouse both through and against psychoanalysis, tracing how its depiction of madness opens up hybrid, culturally situated modes of self-expression. But first, a brief synopsis of the novel is necessary. Set in northern Nigeria, The Madhouse follows the Sharif family through a fragmented, polyphonic narrative centered on a marginal symbolic house. This home, rumored to have been a colonial asylum, embodies collective trauma, housing a family haunted by abandonment, madness, and loss. At the heart of the novel are Max and Andre, brothers raised in isolation, each dealing with the emotional withdrawal of their mother, Sweet Pea, following their father's betrayal. Their stories unravel across a fractured psychic and national landscape. Notably, the novel does not attempt to resolve madness by using a particular register, medical, spiritual, or political. Instead, it inhabits what Homi Bhabha calls a third space, a zone of conflict and negotiation, becoming a site for personal, historic, and affective friction. The Madhouse does not offer synthesis, but a multiplicity. It asks, what happens when no available model, neither traditional nor imported, can contain lived experience? The answer is breakdown, but also critique, a collapse that reveals the limits of explanatory systems. At the psychoanalytic heart of the novel is arguably the dead mother complex. Andre Green's theory of what happens when a once vital mother becomes emotionally inert, typically through depression or trauma. The child, confronted with a withdrawn figure, undergoes a psychic fracture, unable to grieve a mother who's both present and absent, and they internalize the void. This leads to affective stasis, compulsive identification, and arrested development. Green's model is crucial not only for understanding the characters in the Madhouse, but also for recognizing how maternal loss functions as a structuring absence in post-colonial literature. In the novel, this complex operates across individual, familial, and national levels. The mother's emotional withdrawal mirrors colonial abandonment, destabilizing the very structures that sustain identity and coherence. Sweet Pea, the mother's figure, exemplifies the psychic condition Andre Green terms the dead mother. Her emotional attunement to affective withdrawal following Sharif's betrayment. The resulting maternal absence is therefore not literal but symbolic, and the consequences are profound. Green argues that when a mother becomes emotionally dead, the child cannot undertake normative mourning. Grief is suspended because the object of loss remains physically present, and the result is a pathological identification in which the child internalizes the deadened mother, attempting to restore her through mimicry or regression. Julia Kristeva's concept of the thing extends this Greenian structure into the realm of language and meaning. In Black Sun, Kristeva theorizes melancholia as a collapse of signification, where the maternal object becomes unnameable and no longer a symbol, but a psychic void. This development shifts Green's focus on affective withdrawal towards the linguistic and semiotic dimensions of loss. Benson's The Madhouse draws directly on this terrain. In its opening pages, Max declares she wasn't their mother, she'd become the thing. This is not merely metaphorical, but signals a semantic death. Sweet Pea's withdrawal marks not only emotional loss, but a symbolic collapse. For Max and Andre, she had anchored meaning, and her disappearance inaugurates a crisis of psychic structure. They do not grieve and individuate, but stagnate, regress, and cannibalize the maternal image trapped in melancholic circuit. Through Green's lens, this is a failure of psychic separation. Through Kristeva's, it's a rupture in the symbolic order itself. The novel's fragmented, recursive structure is not only a stylistic choice, it reflects the psychic condition of characters arrested in the wake of maternal collapse. Time in the novel is cyclic and disjointed, refusing linear progression. It mirrors what Green calls a temporal rupture of the dead mother, the past invading the present, memory and fantasy indistinguishable. The opening scene, 3 men silently recreating a dead woman's cake recipe, is therefore an emblematic one. The batter becomes a corpse substitute. Here in the grief, time folds in on itself. Memory and prophecy become indistinguishable, and effect replaces chronological order. In such moments, the breakdown of temporal continuity signals more than narrative disorientation. It marks a crisis of subjectivity itself. As J.T. Fraser suggests, time is not really merely a backdrop to experience, but a structure through which knowledge and identity are organized. When temporal coherence collapses, so too does the possibility of stable selfhood. This opening scene captures the disintegration both of time and self, seemingly trapping three men in a bowl of batter. Their inability to recreate mother's recipe signals more than culinary failure. It reflects an inability to function autonomously in the wake of Sweet Pea's death. Read psychoanalytically, the mother's absence, which frames this opening scene, impedes developmental process by rendering individuality and independence impossible. The recipe of motherhood itself becomes static. It fails to raise, not only in the literal sense of baking, but in a deeper symbolic failure to nurture independent psychic life. Max is thus the clearest embodiment of the dead mother. As the eldest child, terminally ill and childless, Max stands at the threshold between generations, yet is unable to mediate between past and future. Rather than serve as a conduit for continuity, he becomes the novel's first and most vivid figure of narrative and temporal arrest. His sterility negates the general propulsion traditionally associated with mourning. Here, there's no succession, no transformation, but only a closed circuit of loss. In this sense, the madhouse does not begin with a promise of renewal, but a foreclosing of it. Max's position at the narrative forefront marks a story already turning back on itself, a structure whose forward motion is suspended before it can begin. In a moment of self-reflection, Max seeks to find meaning from his life. He asks, he was to die at the age of 33, the same age as Jesus, but what had he done with his life? Even the invocation of Jesus here carries irony. There's to be no resurrection. In this sense, the novel reframes mourning not as a process of recovery, as in classical Freudian theory, but as psychic resurrection. Far from restoring symbolic order, mourning in Benson's world marks its impossibility. Max becomes the inheritor of his mother's silence, a subject constituted by unrecoverable loss. While Max stagnates, Andre disintegrates. His emotional implosion is dramatized in a scene where lightning, shadow, and ancestral dread converge. Chased by ghosts, he collapses in a fetal position, crying for his mother. Upon recovering, he finds himself face to face with a doppelganger, an unknown twin. This spectral double signifies a collapse in psychic boundaries. As Andre cannot differentiate between self and other, between past and present, the twin's silence mirrors not only the mother's emotional void, but the non-recognition that characterizes post-colonial disinheritance. But what happens when psychoanalysis meets its limits? When madness exceeds the frame of the clinic? Madhouse is arguably a diasporic novel, symbolically, not geographically. Characters like Andre across fractured emotional and spiritual landscapes. His movements between home, identity, and performances mirror the diasporic struggle to forge selfhood through embodied acts. Dance, music, and art offer fleeting coherence, but are haunted by that which they cannot express: maternal absence, cultural loss, and spiritual dislocation. Artistic expression thus becomes survival, an epistemology in its own right. In the Madhouse, Andre's engagement with music, performance, and painting reveals a turn from verbal articulation towards an embodied sensory form of knowing. Andre's creative practices do not simply illustrate madness, but they enact its contours, offering an effective vocabulary rooted in movement, rhythm, and relational presence. In many West African traditions, meaning is carried through image, ritual, and collective memory. Benson draws on this by showing how Andre's expression bypasses the spoken word to access submerged layers of grief and inheritance. This challenges the speech-centered logic of psychoanalysis. For Andre, madness thus becomes a charged form of cultural language, inscribed in the body and coded in art and shared across generations. Despite its focused collapse, the novel models a fragile form of healing through form itself. Its fragmented structure isn't just thematic, it performs the very disintegration it describes. Central to this novel's polyphonic narrative, multiple voices, shifting timelines, and overlapping memories. This layered composition echoes collective models of identity in African contexts, where understanding arises through shared utterances rather through singular voice. Like Nigeria is its own uneven path forward, the novel suggests emerge through shared dissonance rather than unified resolution. The house on Freetown Street is central to this model. Once a colonial asylum, now a family home, it holds within the imprints of grief, silence, and historical rupture. Its instability mirrors and the nation, haunted by absence and unresolved pain. The house is a psychic container, circling trauma and refusing closure. Detached and self-contained, the house becomes a metaphor both for Sweet Pea and Nigeria itself. It stands as a structure emptied of nurturing force, cut off, insular, echoing with memory. Its painted surfaces, those by Sweet Pea and later Andre, are not only decorative but expressive. These images precede language, they resist narrative containment. Like oral tradition and ritual art, they speak a language of feeling and history. In this light, the house becomes a living record, a canvas where personal memory and national loss converge. Its history is layered and its walls are marked by that which has been repressed but not erased. Yet the madhouse does not end with psychologicalization. It returns us to spiritual frameworks. Drawing on John Mabiti's work, the novel suggests madness in African contexts is not solely emotional, it's cosmological. When ancestral codes are broken through taboo and betrayal, spiritual disorder follows. Sharif and Sweet Pea's relationship, which transgresses community ethics, estranges them from tradition. Their children not only inherit emotional wounds, but a severed lineage. Christianity, introduced through colonial rule, complicates this. Though not the novel's central concern, it shadows the narrative where it appears not as a source of spiritual stability, but a hollowed-out remnant, unable to anchor its characters. Sweet Pea's turn to the church signals not healing, but resignation. The church absorbs her pain, but does not transmute it. Madness here reflects not only emotional collapse, but spiritual severance. Healing, if possible, lays not in salvation, but in restoration of memory, of lineage, of communal bonds. To return to the question, is psychological hybridity possible in post-colonial literature? The madhouse answers yes, but not as reconciliation. It's a vision of hybrid rather than harmony. Psychoanalytic, spiritual, and political readings coexist without resolution. Madness becomes a site collision between fractured families, rituals, and theories that fall short of containing lived experience. The madhouse positions literature as a diagnostic space in its own right, one that captures psychic states, cultural ruptures, and spiritual disturbance through narrative form. The novel's non-linear structure, formal fragmentation, and aesthetic density enact the very disintegration they describe. As Marilyn Charles argues, literature provides access to psychic truth through aesthetic experience. Benson's novel is not simply about madness, it performs madness through syntax, repetition, silence, and dissonance. It offers not explanation, but immersion. In doing so, it invites the reader to inhabit a state of instability, where the limits of psychoanalysis, spirituality, and national discourse become palpable. It's in this space that hybridity and new meaning begin to emerge. While psychoanalysis remains a powerful tool for interpreting psychic life, its colonial legacy and epistemic limits cannot be ignored. In reading The Madhouse, models such as Andre Green's Dead Mother Complex or Kristeva's Melancholia offer valuable insights on affective status, mourning, and identity collapse. These frameworks, however, must be applied critically and contextually, as culturally situated discourses, not as universal truths. They require translation, resistance, and hybridization when engaged alongside African texts and cosmologies. Further criticism must therefore embrace a dialogical approach, one that allows African literature to articulate its complexities on its own terms, even or especially when those terms resist theoretical containment. Thank you. I'm going to leave that there. Thank you. If there's any questions.
Wow, that was a good presentation. Okay, I can see you trying to look at psychological issues about madness, and you're comparing it and a lot of different spheres. So I think you should write the question down for you seem to address it before you talk about the cosmological view of madness from an African perspective. Are you getting me?
You keep breaking up a little bit. I keep getting a bit of static in the thing. So you're setting the framework that I'm looking at, sort of madness from a psychological point of view, and obviously within the African context as well. I think that's what you've said so far.
Yes, and I see that the play trying to connect the boy's madness with the modern, as I said, it's called a thing. And then I'm going to think about it, when you talk about madness, sometimes the book revealed the fact that the book looked at anything about maybe for instance, here in Africa, sometimes we have a feeling that, or I've heard the concept that the state of the pregnant woman influences.
Sorry, I've lost. Sorry.
Can't hear me. Okay, maybe I should type it.
The sound keeps going. Type it, yeah? Typing's good.
Okay, so let her speak. Yeah, she can go on. Yeah, I think she can go on. We don't have any more questions else. We don't have any more questions in the house.
And the question is, can the question be put through on chat at all? On the type through?
Type our questions.
They said okay. They agreed to type their questions or send it via mail.
Right, fantastic. Now we can look forward to that. As we've got 5 minutes,
Okay,
we could return to other questions that were potentially not answered at the time.
The participants online is raising their hand. I think they would like to ask a question. Okay, the answer dropped now, so I don't know if the person still wants to ask the question. Hi, Julie.
Hi, can you hear me okay? I've got a little bit of interference on my side. Are there any more questions for any of the other panelists when we've got, say, a couple of minutes left?
So we have a couple of minutes left. So do you also ask a question?
I start on this, but I was trying to connect the idea of madness with pronounced seminar work on Richard of the Earth. I don't know if you interacted with the text in for grounding the notion of hybridity, the notion of the side of the black man. I think he tried to connect he tried to connect notions of hybridity with the loss of agency, the way in which that affects the psychology of a black man. And I don't know if you are ready to connect that. And even when you watch religion, the religions that we embrace, whether you call it Islamic religion, whether you call it Christian religion, they are all constituted to place us within, to place the blacks between what they call the liminal space, the third space. And you see, the loss of agency, the displacement in culture, displacement in terms of religion, displaces the mind, the psyche of the recipient of this. So, hybridity, loss of agency, is not just a question of post-colonial imposition. I think it also shows the way in which the black man, lost himself in between these things. And then the way even to think of himself becomes elusive. And then he wanders here and there. He gropes around, trying to discover himself. So that could be an aspect that could be seen as the madness, in a sense. Thank you.
Absolutely. That is formative in the chapter that I'm writing. I'm actually basing a lot on Fanon and the way that that's going. So I'm looking at things particularly from a national perspective and trying not to draw it too much as a national allegory. I know that that side of things is very fundamental to the history of Nigerian literature. I don't want to dismiss that, but at the same time, I do want to explore what it's like, as I say, this intergenerational inheritance of this feeling of who am I, what do I represent, who am I going forward? And that's the madness that I'm trying to incorporate. That's what's passed, particularly from mother to son. So if mother stands here perhaps for colonial governments and the, sort of the history or an inheritance for Nigeria, then what's coming then is this sort of the death of the self, and that's exactly what Fanon's putting forward. So Fanon says there's a zone of non-being for the black man. So that's exactly what I'm trying to represent by saying that these children are sat there going, who am I when I've got no formative, sort of engagement to go with? I've got a colonial past, it's dead to me. What do I do going forward? And the answer is madness. So I'm completely with you on that one.
Thank you.
Lost
So
you.
our time is up now.
Okay.
Do you have anything else? Question? Yeah, we don't have any questions. Any more questions?
Okay, well, we are at time at 10:45. So I think there's a 15-minute break and then next sessions, I think.
Yeah, it's 10:45 already.
Can I just say thank you to your panelists?
No, that's true. Hi, Julie, can you hear us? Hi, Julie. Okay. You start very to the next final. So, you know,